Big fluff.
Meet your doom. Prepare to have your ass ripped in half by Cactus Sack.
Over there, I'm gonna tear you up because your ass is grass and Cactus Sack's got the No, that's too cliche, but you will be mine, all mine. Whee!
Hey everyone, I'm Big Baby Sweets.
Whoop whoop. And I'm Big Andy Mac. Whoop whoop.
And this is Silver Linings Playback, the podcast where we watch maligned movies and we find their silver linings.
And we're doing wrestler movies, and there's no finer wrestler movie than the Dark Carnival itself, Big Money Hustlers, featuring the one and only ICP.
I have to take a second right at the beginning because I think people need to know. And if you're only listening to the audio version, I highly recommend finding the video. Andy and I did not coordinate anything, and we did not talk ahead of time. And we both saw each other about 10 seconds before we started recording this.
We went immediately into the recording. Normally I don't care how you consume the SLP podcast show, but this week I think videos is a must. Yeah, no, it's delightful. And actually, one more thing before we start. I realize this might be a long episode. I'm feeling a little parched. Oh, perfect. I did not get a bottle of Faygo Pop for myself. Didn't think about it, but I should have.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. So maybe I made the right call. I don't know.
It honestly, so it's the cotton candy Faygo. Hey. But I think they sincerely nailed it in that it tastes like the syrup that they use
to flavor
to make
that's
to flavor
probably all it is that syrup mixed with water.
But not enough water.
But not enough seltzer. No.
I think the ratios are off. They put it in
a soda stream. And that's
very cotton candy forward, I think. So
yeah.
I mean, we could end it now.
We did it, I think.
Also, yeah, if people, I mean, I assume they know, but of course, this is what I'm wearing.
Dressed like the inimitable Cactus Sack.
One of the 4 faces of Foley. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. And I have Juggalo makeup on.
Yes. You do, which is really why you need to see.
This is really what you need to be a part of.
How long did you did this yourself? I'm guessing.
Yeah, it took about 10 minutes.
About 10 minutes. I'm impressed. And you keep clown makeup in your house.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Well, if it wasn't clear, I don't know if we've said it yet or not because I'm distracted. But yeah, it's Big Money Hustlas. So obviously Mick Foley's in this movie, which would be enough to qualify it. But I do think if people don't know, and they should know, the Insane Clown Posse would you consider them wrestlers? I at least consider them part of wrestling.
Well, all right. So here's why I'm inclined to say, yes, I consider them wrestlers, is because on their Wikipedia page for either Violent J or Shaggy 2 Dope, they say rapper, wrestler, and filmmaker, I believe, is the sobriquet that they apply to the said Insane Clown Posse.
Also, correct order. That is how I would list those 3 things for them as well.
Yes.
Rapper first, wrestler second, filmmaker third. That's the correct order.
It's rapper, actor, record producer, and professional wrestler for Shaggy 2 Dope. And then for Violent J, it's American rapper, record producer, professional wrestler, actor, and part of the hip-hop duo Insane Clown Posse.
I think Violent J's order is correct.
I think so, too.
I would put actor after wrestler, having seen this movie.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, if people don't know, I mean, they're very associated with wrestling. They performed in both WCW and WWE during like the heyday of both.
Yeah.
They shown up in TNA? They did, right?
They definitely did in Ring of Honor.
Right.
They did one show. I'd be shocked if they didn't appear in TNA.
They also, of course, have Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Which at one point, like right after the collapse of WCW and ECW, was the second largest promotion in North America.
Look, man, Juggalos are a force. They
are.
They really are. And I wanted to be clear. I love and respect them. And I think it's great. And like, you're clearly one of them, but
whoop, whoop.
Yeah. Which is that actually explains it. You keep inviting me to throw hatchets and I was never sure why.
Well, you know, sometimes we like to gather.
That's true. But yeah, I believe that Juggalos could be the answer to a lot of America's problems. I think if young men go throw some hatchets in their 20s, smoke some weed, and listen to some Insane Clown Posse in a supportive and surprisingly progressive community, I think it would actually do them a lot of good.
Very open and welcoming and taking people as they are and taking people of all kinds.
They wouldn't know how magnets worked, but
no.
I think they'd be better off.
No, they don't know how magnets work. But man, do they know how to hustle some big money.
Yes. Okay. So this movie, Big Money Hustlas, it is clearly, and I would say, in the style of Quentin Tarantino, an homage to 1970s exploitation cinema.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree that is pretty much what they're doing. It is very much, I mean, Shaggy Two-Dope plays a character named Sugar Bear.
Yes.
And Violent J plays, I believe his character, what is its name?
Well, it's Big Baby Sweets.
He's Big Baby Sweets, yeah.
Yes.
And then, yeah. Yeah, and you know Violent J is the crime lord in not Detroit but New York City.
Yes, although they it's also very in the style of say Abbott and Costello or Kevin Smith or like they look into the camera a lot. They're acknowledging
they are very aware they're in a movie. At one point, the director comes on screen and corrects their line delivery.
Yes,
you don't have to keep drinking the Faygo.
I know, but for the bit, this is, my commitment to a bit.
I do know your commitment. I know that one time, again, at an improv practice, we ate 24 cookies just for the bit.
Yeah, I think that was better than this, if I had.
I'm sure it was. So what's going to be annoying about this episode is if I ever need to check up information on my phone, the Juggalo makeup has canceled out my face recognition.
It doesn't think you're you.
It doesn't think I'm me.
Wow, that's interesting. What if, I already said that I think the Juggalos could save the world. What if they could also thwart AI? What if facial recognition software
They definitely don't know how they work.
Honestly, that should be what happens in America. If for some reason we need to go really hard like they've done in other countries and, people need to evade facial recognition cameras, it should just be in Juggalo makeup.
Yes.
But yeah, so this is an ode to 70s films, and Sugar Bear, the Shaggy Two-Dope cop character, his hero is Dolomite, and Rudy Ray Moore has a cameo in this as Dolomite. Like they just call him Dolomite, and he shows up as the ghost of Dolomite,
who's not dead.
And then in the winking in the camera style, he then they say that like. When they go into the final battle, Shaggy's like, where did he go? And they're like, oh, we couldn't afford to keep him. So he left.
Yes.
Which is both probably actually true and their way of writing him out of the movie.
Legitimately so.
Because
I did one of the things for a day.
Yeah. And one of the things I saw with this movie is that it ran out of money and Violent J and Shaggy Two-Dope had to put, I believe it was $100,000 of their own money into finishing the production. They also wanted the gorilla, the masked gorilla robber character that is very clearly played by Violent J, they wanted to dub the lines so that it seemed like it was a different person besides him, and then they could not afford to do the sound mixing required to redub the lines.
Yeah, this movie definitely has a fly by the seat of their pants feel to it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll just say at the top, like, cards on the table, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't
had
hate
fun
it.
with this movie. Yeah.
Didn't love it, didn't hate it.
I think they understood the movie they were making, and I think they were successful in that. I believe that they accomplished what they set out to accomplish. I do think they could have benefited from a little bit more money and polish, but also to what end?
Would that have, I don't know that would have made it better.
Here's what I'm going to throw out. Tell me what you think of this. The name that came into mind, that I think might have been the ideal director for this project was Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. That if Kevin Smith had directed this Juggalo movie, because I feel like he's sympathetic to the Juggalos. They have a lot in common. Jorts, weed.
Yeah, I think those are the big two for
long coats.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, yeah.
Hooking their friends up in movies.
Yeah. Looking right into camera to deliver their lines. Yeah. I don't even think, like, the term is like breaking the fourth wall, but I don't believe that there is a fourth wall in Big Money Hustlas. I don't think there's an effort to create a world that feels removed from the idea that we are at all times watching a movie.
No, there's never that. We are essentially, I don't even know what we are watching, but there's so many shots that are literally just like we're shooting this podcast right now, face onto the camera.
Right. And like we're shooting this podcast now, both the hero and villain of the film just have, clown makeup on, and it's never really addressed, but it is acknowledged because in the end, there's actually a Kaiser Soze-esque reveal.
Yeah, esque twist.
Because we haven't talked about yet the fact that Harland Williams is in this movie as Harry Cox. And Harry Cox is we're told at the beginning he's the only other non-corrupt member of the force, but besides Shaggy Two Dope's character.
Right.
And they're paired together. But then when Violent J is gunned down in the final battle, they wipe off the face paint to reveal that he has been Harland Williams the whole time. Although then there's an end scene where they open a casket and Violent J comes out, and he says, if you're worried that they don't explain it, they do explain it in that he says, wicked clowns will never die. So we do get an explanation.
Yes.
But then he's just there. So I think you could, if you wanted to, interpret it that Harland Williams was not actually Violent J and that he faked his death.
Maybe. That seems to make sense.
Because they also had him tied up to a chair while I'm pretty sure I've only watched it once, but I wonder if they share scenes together, the two of them.
I don't remember it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they had.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they were concerned about continuity. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, maligning this movie feels like a fool's errand, but are there other things specifically that you want to talk about?
I mean, I want to talk about this whole movie because it's just like no one watching this movie, no one watches this movie on accident. One.
I would love to meet the person who did.
Like they just leave Tubi running and then all of a sudden Big Money Hustlas comes up.
Yeah.
But I feel like anybody who wasn't immediately in on the fact that it was an Insane Clown Posse movie would be just as quickly out.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So I don't think there's this movie went direct to its audience. At one point, it was #1 on the music video charts on the Billboard for sales.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, it's this movie's wild, man.
It is. It also came out because I think people now know of the Insane Clown Posse, but 2000, I don't think if you weren't around, if you're not our age, if you weren't clocking things, they were big in 2000. They
were in the pop culture
zeitgeist.
Space.
Yeah. Where because they had already released a few years earlier The Great Malenko, which was their kind of breakout album, which is when they kind of ended up on my radar because my friend Justin bought that album and I used to ride to school with him and he would play it.
I'm going to go out on a limb in that everybody who had a friend named Justin, it was their friend Justin that introduced them to this Insane Clown Posse.
I think probably 80% of ICP fans are named Justin. I think that's probably. I think
that stands to reason. But yeah, it was that, and then that they were on Monday Night Raw, they were on Monday Nitro. They wrestled matches. They were passable as wrestlers,
right? And they had a fun thing. I mean, the Oddities were a really good faction. I really liked that, and we're the most whoever was hired at the time, I don't know if it was Russo or who it was, but someone was actually tapped in to what young people were watching. Cause it was they had a guy who came out and held a giant Eric Cartman stuffed thing.
Oh, it wasn't a guy. That was Golga, who was
right.
Earthquake John Tenta under a hood.
Which soon now to be Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, my apologies. I legit forgot that was him, but yeah.
So one for our wrestling fans out there, and I assume we have quite a few, especially this month. John Tenta, one of the most underrated big men of all time. Full stop. He was great. Yep. Man, did I hate him when he was crushing Hulk Hogan in 1992.
Oh yeah.
Two, he was 28 years old when he did that.
That's insane.
Isn't it? He looks 50.
Yes. Yeah. All men in the 80s look like they were 50, but yeah, he particularly did.
Yeah, he just but he was 28.
That's crazy.
Which is nuts. But yeah, the Oddities were Kurgan, who ended up having a very successful movie career.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, he played a lot of henchman parts, did a lot of stunt work. He was the Uber Immortal in 300.
Oh, that makes sense.
He was one of the henchmen in the first Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr.
Nice.
And I would almost argue has had enough of a career that there are probably many people who think of Robert Mallet as someone who is an actor and not a wrestler.
Yeah.
So, shout out to Kurgan the Interrogator. And then Giant Silva, who couldn't move.
No. Kurgan had a great finishing move, by the way, too. His where he grab you.
And just squeeze your head.
He just squeezed your head. That was pretty much it. But it was a good move.
No, I liked the Oddities. And the ICP was a good fit with them. It was good.
Yeah. No, it made complete sense. Yeah, because there was a sideshow thing. Also, their theme song, which ICP wrote, is great. It was really catchy. And they were fun. And then, they went to WCW. I don't have as strong of a memory of what they did in WCW.
Well,
but
they were in a stable called the Dark Carnival with Vampiro, which also makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they, and one thing, and I mean, we should go back to talking about the movie and not talk about wrestling, but while I think that most people are a little too pie in the sky about the Attitude Era overall, because if you go back and watch the actual bell to bell wrestling is so much better nowadays. It's not even comparable. Not just from like a flippy athleticism standpoint, but like the matches like make more sense. Like more people can do good work. But the one thing Attitude Era definitely did better than today is that from the top to the bottom of the card, everybody had something to do.
Right. And I think the other thing too that they did really well was start the show out of a cannon and keep that momentum going down the line. That your first segment would be whatever the thing was, Stone Cold or whatever. And then we're going to check back through that throughout the night. But then we're going to have all these undercard matches that are also, you know what's going on. They have good storytelling. And we're checking back in with Stone Cold, who's also going to show up at the end or whatever. Like, it's just because I have that now where it's like I'm into Cena versus Cody Rhodes as a storyline. And then it doesn't keep your attention in the same way.
No,
like down the line.
I will say so. As we're recording this, I attended AEW Dynamite last night, and it kind of had that Attitude Era vibe where it started really hot and stayed hot while like keeping a few through lines throughout the show, which doesn't always happen, but it was good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But either way, back to Big Money Hustlers and I don't like the Insane Clown Posse. The Insane Clown Posse are not great actors, but
the Insane Clown policy is to let that slide.
It's to let it go. That's the Insane Clown policy.
Yeah.
Yeah. In school, if you show up in Juggalo makeup, it's the Insane Clown policy. They have to let it slide.
Okay, look, I know we're trying to get back on track, and you were doing such a good job. But I do think we should write the Insane Clown policy, which is it's set in the late 90s, early 2000s at a school. And it is about a school that is trying to like one kid shows up in Juggalo makeup.
Is it Footloose but Juggalos?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So they realize like Air Bud style. There's nothing in the books that says you can't show up in clown makeup. But the principal hates it, wants to shut it down. So they ban Juggalos Footloose style. And then the end is that their prom theme is Dark Carnival. Yeah. And they have a big Juggalo prom.
So Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope, if you're listening, and I like to think that you are. Actually, no, I like to think that you're watching.
Yes, I hope that you started listening and then you heard that Andy had Juggalo makeup on and you went and watched. But yeah, I would also love it if you're watching this because nothing would be more adorable to me than if you both had a Google alert for your names and you just saw this pop up and you're like, oh, someone's talking about Big Money Hustlas. I got to watch this.
But no, I think the Insane Clown policy. Yeah, it's Footloose but Juggalos. I think that's brilliant.
Which again, when you pitch something in Hollywood, you want something meets something. And I think Footloose meets Juggalos that's the elevator pitch. That's what's going to get us in the door.
Yeah. And,
Oh, Kevin Bacon, if you're listening, you should play the principal.
I was just going to say, if I think Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J have to play themselves.
Yeah.
That they show up at the end. But no, Kevin Bacon should definitely play the principal that hates Juggalos.
Maybe there's like a Scent of a Woman type of scene where, but with Shaggy 2 Dope and Violent J where they show up at the town hall meeting to kind of like, say if they were the men they were 5 years ago, they take a flamethrower to this place. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. I feel like we have to cast Superhuman in this in some way, shape, or form, too.
Yeah.
Like, he should just be in it.
Janitor. He's the janitor.
Something.
Yeah. And he, like, lets the kids in.
Yeah.
To the
prom. And then you just see him jumping off stuff in the background.
Yeah. I like it.
And for SLP fans that don't know who Superhuman is, look him up. That's human, Humman.
Yeah.
Superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
And he does stuff for all the Juggalos and Juggalettes.
Yeah. And if you're curious, what is a Juggalo? There is a song called "What Is a Juggalo," and it kind of addresses it.
Yeah. It's not just the makeup. There's more to being a juggalo than just the makeup.
Well, I'll just tell you. The answer is I don't know, but I'm down with the clown and I'm down for life, yo.
There you go.
So,
yeah. I want to make Insane Clown Policy now. I think that's...
I love it. I'm a big fan of Insane Clown Policy. Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Big Money Hustlas. Which clown you think's the better actor?
Violent J.
I was gonna say Shaggy Two Dope.
Really?
I think he delivers a line better. I think he hits a punchline a little better in the movie.
I think Violent J has better screen presence.
I think you might be right there. I don't know. I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But I don't know, I thought that Shaggy Two Dope embodied the blaxploitation style pimp a little bit better than Violent J.
Yeah, no, I think it's clear from this movie that Shaggy Two Dope loves Dolomite, and that it probably was the starting point, and maybe he pitched it, I would believe, because he seems very excited to be doing scenes with Rudy Ray Moore.
Yeah, definitely. Objectively so. Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, I think that since he's doing a little more character work, and I feel like Violent J is just playing himself.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think Violent J has it's hard to say the more fun role, but I think Violent J gets the more over the top role.
Yeah, that might be true. At playing the big baby sweets, the crime boss.
Yeah.
But I mean, Sugar Bear has perhaps the most shocking scene of this movie is the way too long sex scene.
Okay. Are we ready to pivot or not? Because
I don't even know if we need to pivot. I think we're just this movie's all killer, no filler.
Okay, let's just talk about it then. This is all is open for all the movie. Then we're not this okay, because I think this is all important to talk about, because I do think that there are both great things and terrible things, and maybe that's all of this movie, about the entire love story plotline, which I do think we should talk about.
Yeah,
because one, I will say, and this is where I am endlessly fascinated by the Insane Clown Posse and how they're. I often feel like people want to pigeonhole them as a specific thing, but they're hard to nail down because they're fascinating. And I tee all that up to say was kind of refreshing about this movie, and I think there's still problematic stuff in how it's presented, is Shaggy Two Dope goes to a strip club and he sees a very large woman on stage, and he says she's the most beautiful woman in the strip club. She's his ideal woman, and he's immediately in love with her, which I think is actually true body positivity, that it's just in this movie, this woman, she's beautiful, and that's it, understood, and there's no question about it, and it's not a joke. It's just he's in love with her.
Not his love for her is not played for laughs.
Right.
It shows more tact for people of size than, say, Shallow Hal, which is just a mean fat joke movie.
And especially for 2000,
for 2000, yeah,
it's wild. It's almost it's an outlier of the fact that it's not doing that, that it isn't Shallow Hal. And I did really like that. I thought that was cool. I really liked that character. Again, I think you get into a thing where it's this 70s exploitation thing. So I don't know, she's constantly eating in bed and stuff. And I don't really quite know what to make of all that, because it just mostly feels silly, but it's, not the greatest, but whatever. But then you get to this sex scene, and the sex scene, it's all close-ups.
It's all fisheye close-ups, a la a late 90s, early 2000s music video.
And there's a lot of, Shaggy's face as he's thrusting, or her face, and it goes on for a while, and then it cuts to, Violent J and his crew, continuing to just be menaces around the city. And you're like, okay, we've moved on. Then it cuts back to the sex scene, which is still happening. And you're like, okay, sure, that's kind of funny. And then it goes back to now we're doing, they're terrorizing more people. Then it goes back.
Yeah.
And it's maybe 10 minutes of the movie is cutting back and forth between the action scenes and just this sex scene still going on, which I was laughing harder every time they went back. Like, it was getting increasingly funnier to me each time.
Well, and they show the passage of time by half-eaten Hostess snowballs and stubbed out cigarillos.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's great.
No notes.
Yeah. And then they do women in refrigerators, her, she's killed as the inspiration, which again, it's like, it's hard to really, make too much of a moral judgment on that in this movie, because that seems beyond the point. Yeah. But I do want to talk about the fact, so she is killed by 2 magical ninjas, and they are a thing that might be my favorite thing in the movie, because I've actually never seen this before, and I thought it was a really good joke, which is normally ninjas, like, I think of ninjas as like Batman Begins or whatever, where Batman's like learning how to do it, and the idea is the ninja is like in the shadows and like pops out. That's our classic idea. They're dressed all in black, and you don't see them until they're there to kill you. That's a normal idea. These guys, they're just 2 dudes in like regular clothing, but no one can see them. And when they kill her, they're just walking down the steps, not fast, just kind of taking their time. And Shaggy just walks right past them. And that's good. That's a good bit.
It's well done. and when they get like summoned by like a magical scroll or something like that.
Yes.
And like they are wearing the most like gaudy, like Power Rangers-esque ninja costumes.
Yeah, no, their costumes are ridiculous. And then they're killed.
And
there's like
even says ninja on their headband.
Yes, yeah. Yes. But then so the end shootout that we all build to is, before that, Shaggy like goes to see, it's essentially like a James Bond. What is it? Q? Is that the guy who makes all the stuff for James Bond? Like that kind of sequence of like, I've made all these things. There's a gun to kill the ninjas that just the gun finds them and shoots them wherever they are on premises. And one of them is on the toilet.
Again, no notes.
Yeah. One of the other things is, so we haven't talked about the 2 Violent J's 2 sidekicks, which are, is it Big Stank? Is that
Big
the first
Stank
one?
And Little Poots.
And Little Poots. Which again, no notes on the names. But they're taking out the Q guy. It kind of tells him like, I don't have time to explain how this one works, but when you get to them, use this. And all it does is open a door and their parents come out and yell at them.
They're wealthy, well-to-do parents.
Yes. Also a good bit.
Yeah. Yeah, they are played by Jamie Madrox and Monoxide Child of the ICP friend act Twisted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're really going to be down with the clown, you got to know about the whole extended ICP universe. You know, you got Twisted, obviously, and oh God, what's the other? Now I was like trying to tee that up, and now I can't remember the other. But yeah, there's a bunch of like acts that they perform alongside.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another great cameo in this is Fred Rerun Barry as Bootleg Greg.
Yeah. All of this is great because there's a big, I think it might be the introduction scene of Violent J where he's at a big table and all of the people that are under him, he's the crime kingpin, are kind of showing up to give their payoffs to him. And when Rerun does it, like he fans out his money and then he's shot by one of the other guys. And everyone's can't understand why, because he just fanned out the money he's paying him. And then I don't even know what's the character that just has the mask that's in it, but he just walks up and he turns the money over and it's fake. It's only printed on one side.
Yep.
Also, we haven't talked about the fact that I think every character in this movie who isn't Shaggy 2 Dope has at least 2 or 3 squibs go off on. They're like, everyone in this movie is shot. Like,
yes,
at one point. Kind of like SNL Dear Sister style. Like,
yeah, and again, no notes. Yeah, another silver lining for this, and I don't. It's going to sound a little backhanded, but it's not. When I saw that this movie was an hour and 35 minutes, I was worried. But if before the movie that you said that this movie was going to be an hour and 35 minutes, and feature a 10-minute sex scene played for laughs and a wrestling match with Mankind, with Cactus Jack, essentially Cactus Sack, I'd been like, okay, yeah, I guess they needed to pad that runtime a little bit to get it to feature length.
Yeah, which is it time? Is it time to talk about Mick Foley?
Bang bang.
Bang bang.
Yeah, I think
so.
It is.
Yeah, so as we talked about, every other member of the gang is either killed by Violent J, which also, yeah. The squib budget on this versus we watched that Trish Stratus movie last week where they had to thank the squib company for like the 4 squibs that
for
they
donating
had
the 4 squibs for the last shootout.
I actually think the $100,000 that ICP had to put into this movie might have just been for squibs because it is like
they go through a lot of them. Yeah,
but yeah, they're either killed by Violent J or dispatched by these various gadgets, and then it just gets down to the 2 of them. Except it's not the 2 of them because all of a sudden the lights go out. There's a wrestling ring just out of nowhere. And yeah, Cactus Sack shows up and it is 2000s Mick Foley. So this is post the introduction of all 3 faces of Foley. And the bit of it is that he's like trying to remember what Cactus Jack's catchphrase is, but he keeps saying Mankind and dude loves gimmicks and catchphrases. He's dancing, he's doing Mr. Sacco. And he's kicking the shit out of Shaggy 2 Dope
the whole time.
Which
that's how it should go.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say is this is where, as a wrestling fan, I do truly respect them because they recognize that like Shaggy needs to win this fight for the plot, but he should not like he shouldn't go over Mick Foley. And Mick is obviously a very gracious wrestler who has made the careers of many people and lost many matches. But like, yeah, I mean, it's just respect of like he should kick the shit out of Shaggy 2 Dope, which he does. And the only reason that he loses is because Shaggy's thrown into a pallet. He gets like a big giant, it's a stake, essentially. It's not even like a splinter, but it's just a big chunk of wood in his leg. And then when Foley comes off the top rope, he uses it to stab him.
Yep. Yeah, that's how that match would go if you needed to put over Shaggy 2 Dope.
And I love it, too, because it's immediately followed by Violent J saying, I know this is a movie because if this was real life, there's no way you would have won. Which is, again, perfect.
Yeah, no, again, no notes. It works perfectly. And I think this was made post Mick Foley retirement.
I mean, 2000 would have been that. That was around the time he was retiring. It depends on when they filmed it, but he was winding down for sure. If not,
because WrestleMania 2000, No Way Out 2000 was his first last match.
Yeah, he retired in February, then immediately came back a month later to wrestle at WrestleMania. He's still in because he's in better shape than when he showed up at WrestleMania, which makes me think that he was probably still. This was probably pre-February when they filmed it.
Yeah, one of my favorite. It might have even been summer '99 potentially.
Yeah, and just released in 2000.
Right. One of my favorite lines in Mick Foley's second book, because this is after it's talking about like his post winning the world title and all that. But he says that like he's talking about his retirement, and he says, after that No Way Out match with Triple H, and I thought my career was over. I was very upset that I got called back in to wrestle because I'd been spending the last 3 weeks trying to rid the world of ribs.
Yeah. Yeah, he for sure, like, he's talked a lot about that they kind of seduced him by offering him the main event at WrestleMania, but he legitimately did not plan to come back. And I don't think
No, he was done, and he was happy to be done.
Yeah. I also, if people don't know, like, there is a stronger link than you would think between Mick Foley and ICP, which is that a lot of people have only seen Foley and Terry Funk's King of the Deathmatch tournament from Japan.
Yes.
Because ICP released it in America as Stranglemania.
And it's them doing commentary to their no rope barbed wire exploding ring death match.
Yes.
From the Tournament of Death in Japan.
And it's great. And I have seen both the that version and the that version. And their commentary is fun. I mean, it's what you would expect. But and I think they call him Cactus Sack in that as well.
Yeah, their commentary features a line that my friends in college that we used to constantly quote to each other, which was, and again, younger listeners, you may want to plug your ears or fast forward for a few seconds. But the line was, "Holy shit, he's got him in the cockfuck."
That's good. I also,
and we just thought that was the funny. It's just like, it's the most swears.
I do want to take a moment. I think I probably have talked about this on Hobo Radio if people listen to that, but Lars and Lars, who's been my friend since high school, and his now wife, Julia, the first date that they ever had was watching Stranglemania together. And the funny thing is that Julia, who's awesome, she's from Philly and she's a wrestling fan. And so I think it was her idea, from what I understand, of like, she was like, we should watch this. And so they watched it together. But one of the best things ever, the probably second best use of cameo ever after when you bought a cameo from the guy for Bowling for Soup for our friend Jonathan, was Lars and Julia were supposed to get married in 2020, and their wedding was postponed because everything was shut down. And because I knew that about them at the time, Violent J was on Cameo, and Molly and I got them a cameo from Violent J. And it's the entire thing is basically him scolding Lars and saying, you showed Julia Stranglemania on your first date? You would have been married.
Molly and Joel told me all about Lars and Julia. And how Lars and Julia, on their very first date, watched Stranglemania. And how they wanted to get married, but the damn coronavirus came and fucked it up. Right. Right! We can blame it on the coronavirus. But Lars? You showed Julia Stranglemania on your first date, and you wonder why you're not getting married? Come on, man! What the fuck? You would have been married a long time ago. Nothing's romantic about deadly fucking Fred. Wamanamanumi. Virus or no virus. Relive your first date again. And find the will to marry each other this time for real.
It's fantastic. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite things ever. So we got to send that to Lars. And we picked Violent J. So, I mean, I think that also tips my hand as to who we thought was. Yeah,
I think people picture Violent J when they picture the Insane Clown Posse more than Shaggy 2 Dope.
He was the one in the Daily Show bit recently as well, you know, where Shaggy was nowhere to be seen. So.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the one other thing, you know, I kind of alluded to it of like, this is 2000. This is, a few years after the Great Malenko. I enjoyed that this is just scored with mostly just actual needle drops of their music and then otherwise just ICP sounding tracks
ICP adjacent acts
to like score the rest of it. It worked. I thought it was a good aesthetic.
It would have been weird if it wasn't, I think.
I know if it had a classical score, it would have been terrible.
Or like other like recognizable pop songs.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have been good. Like it was definitely the right move. But I also like, again, I'm not the most knowledgeable on their whole catalog, but this is the album that I know was what most of these songs were from. So I that was fun for me personally to hear all of these songs again that Justin used to play in his car.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I know the Great Malenko because that was the breakthrough one.
And again, wrestling. That's 100%, you know, an ode to
and
Dean
a
Malenko.
Deep cut to Dean Malenko's dad, who was the great Boris Malenko.
Yeah. So like,
which is a deep cut.
No, and they're fun, like with how much wrestling stuff they sneak into their lyrics and all of that.
Oh, they're
like,
huge fans.
Yeah, it's very clear. And yeah, I'll just say, I mean, you can tell from your face paint and from this whole show, I would say that we are fans of them. I like the Insane Clown Posse.
I like that they exist. I'm happy that they've created a community for a lot of people that is often misjudged, but is, again, a very progressive and welcoming space for a lot of people. I think that's great.
I'm going to go so hard as to say that the Insane Clown Posse is America. Everything great about it, everything ridiculous about it.
Whoop,
like,
whoop.
They are the beating heart of America. Whoop, whoop. Cheers.
Bow, ba-da-dum, bow, bow.
It's still so bad.
Silver Linings Playback is a production of HoboTrashcan.com. If you enjoyed the show, please rate or review it on Apple Podcasts. Hear more great shows on the Peak Sloth Podcast Network.